This is Microsoft Excel. It is a very widely used application throughout industry. It is often used for invoices, creating quotations. Because of its ability to calculate the mathematics for you, it makes life a whole lot easier. You can set up a spreadsheet and then save that as a template and then just reuse it over and over again, and it will calculate new figures for you. So if you are self-employed or you work for a business or organization, at some point it is likely you will come across this application. So this is what it looks like if you are not familiar with Microsoft Excel. It looks very much like some of the other Office applications with these ribbons across the top. The actual window is divided into columns and rows, and it works a little bit like map references. If you're familiar with Ordnance Survey maps, you'll know that it uses grid references to find things, and it's kind of like that. So you can see here, this is column A, and this is row 1, and each of these little boxes is called a cell, and this is cell A1. And you can see here that it's telling us the name of this box is A1. So if I move along, you can see this is B1, C1, D1. And if I just pick a random cell somewhere, we can see that this is L13. So this is how it names the cells. It always begins with the letter followed by the number. So when we do calculations, we don't actually calculate the numbers, we calculate the cells. So each of these cells has this cell reference. So that's great for us because that means we can just change the numbers in those cells. The formulas will continue to do the calculations because it's not so much worried about the number as it is the cell that contains the number. It'll become more obvious later on as we look at how we do some of these basic formulas. So this is the basic window, and down the bottom here you can see we have sheet 1. Now we can, if we want to, add any number of sheets, and any calculations we do can be on one sheet or across multiple sheets. Each of these sheets, if we right click, we can change the tab color to something else to make it easier for us to find. And if we right click, we can also rename each of these sheets. So if I have an invoice on here, I can physically call it invoice rather than just being called sheet 1 or sheet 2, which makes it easier to find later on. Once we start actually creating some tables of data, it becomes much easier to read and understand if we can use some of the decorative features that come within the program. So if I had some data in this column here, for example, to make it easier to read, I might use borders. I could put borders around. Maybe I could make this, a slightly different color. So if I wanted, the totals or something to stand out, I could use these fill buckets to be able to do that. And just like with any other application, I can change the font color and the font sizes, make it bold, make it italic, align things in the cell so that they become centered or to the left or to the right of the cell. Now, by default, you will see if I give this a title, automatically text is aligned to the left of the cell and any numbers are aligned to the right of the cell. If you see a number on the left, it is usually because someone has changed it to be aligned on the left, or it could be that the number is being stored in that cell as text and not as number, which means you won't be able to do any calculations with that. Okay, the other thing to note is that this menu here gives us some different options of what we can do with these numbers in these cells. So you can see here that I can just have it as general, and that's the default. There's no specific format. Or I can set it to a number, which I can then use decimal places. I can set it to currency so that it becomes money. I can use it for accounting, or I can format dates to short dates, long dates, or Excel will understand if I put numbers in there that relate to time, and it will convert them to times for us. I can use percentages or fractions, even scientific calculations can be done as well. So it's a very useful skill to have, knowing how to use Excel to do basic calculations, knowing how to do graphs, how to create charts, how to be able to sort this data and put it into alphabetical order or in the order of the numbers from A to Z or from highest to lowest number, for example. It's a very good and very useful tool. And as we kind of move forward, we'll begin to see how this works. So before we leave this session, I just want to show you how we do basic formulas. So if I have some items in my cells, I can give them prices. Now you can see, because this is general, it doesn't recognize it as a monetary thing. It's not. It knows it's not cash. So all we have to do is just change this here to currency. Now we can do lots of these all at once by using the big white cross on the mouse pointer, and that enables us to just select more than one cell at once and then change the type of format all at the same time. Now, if I just want to add these two together, I might want, for example, to just total 10 and 9. And the way we use formulas is with the equals sign. So anything that starts with equals is a formula or a function. And as I said before, we're looking for the cell references. So if I click here, it tells me it's I2. It knows it's I2. And then the mathematical formulas that we use are plus, minus, multiply, and divide, the same as any basic maths function, but they are slightly different for divide and for multiply. So if I just want to add these two together, I just choose plus and then use my mouse to select the other cell. And it's telling me here that it's going to add up whatever's in I2 with whatever's in I3. So all I have to do at this point is either click this green tick or press enter on the keyboard, and this will then add 10 and 9 together. So what's good about using cell references and not numbers is that if I decide that this item's gone up in price and it's now £12, as soon as I press enter, it will automatically update the formula, because it's not adding up 12 and 10, it's adding up I2 and I3 and whatever's inside those cells. So that's the basics of Excel. So if you want to multiply something, the symbol is an asterisk. So you would use this symbol and that would multiply the numbers. And if you wanted to divide them, you would use the / and that would then divide the numbers instead.